Welcome to Obsession Engineering. The 1990s were a pivotal decade in the development of the modern motorcycle. Manufacturers had finally worked out how to make good engines, but more importantly, put them in chassis that actually worked. And so we'd been from the 80s, where we had good engines in chassis made of bent spaghetti, to bikes that were not only fast, but were capable of actually being used properly. And that meant the pace of development was incredibly fast. The 90s gave us really some of the most iconic bikes we've ever had. The Ducati 916, the Honda Fireblade, the Yamaha R1. But the bike from the 90s I'm going to talk about today very much deserves to be in my list of the best of the 90s. But it's not a sports bike. No, it's more important than that, because it's actually my pink CB500. But trust me, it is worth you listening to this, because this bike really is brilliant. So when I talk about the 90s being a fantastic era in the development of modern motorcycles, we have to remember, of course, that engineering and development work is pretty much continual. So although a lot of the greatest and most iconic bikes, especially sports bikes, came out in the 90s, the technologies have been developed especially through the second half of the 80s. The radial tyre was incredibly important, because when we were on cross-ply tyres, you couldn't have a large wide tyre, which means you didn't need a chassis that could cope with all that grip, which meant horsepower and torque was basically limited, because you couldn't use any more power because you didn't have any grip, and the chassis didn't need to cope with any more grip because there wasn't any. And so when the radial tyre came out, all of a sudden the tyre wasn't the limiting factor, and it gave manufacturers the opportunity to improve their chassis no end, and that meant they could get more power out of the engines. And that of course led to water cooling. Some bikes stuck with oil cooling or even air cooling for years, but water cooling became the standard, especially for the Japanese manufacturers. That meant engines became more reliable, they became quieter, they became faster, they just became better in basically every conceivable way. The development speed, especially in chassis, was really quite high. We went from having really quite poor sort of cradle frame designs holding a heavy engine to the engine's being a stressed member, bolted and holding and generating stiffness within the chassis. And that meant the chassis got better. And because the chassis was better, it needed better suspension. So forks improved immeasurably, rear shocks got better. And all of this constant improvement really showed up in bikes like the Yamaha X-Up, the Fireblade, later on the R1, 916s. This selection of, I suppose, halo models, these bikes at the top of the tree, were absolutely fantastic. And every 2 years there would be a new version of these bikes with more power, better handling, more grip, better brakes. But what also happened in that time was the technology, the lessons that were being learnt making a Honda Fireblade, they trickled down. And so even something as relatively basic as a CB500 had much better technology than anything that had come before it. We've got water cooling, disc brakes with Brembo calipers, if it's this generation of CB500. They became more fuel economical, they handled better, they braked better, they were safer, they were more stable. Because the manufacturers were learning how a chassis really worked and how to exploit the best from a tyre, it wasn't just the sports bikes that got that. Everything got it, and that meant something as simple as a CB500, for really the first time ever, was not just either a commuter bike or a sports bike, it could near enough do everything. It was a brilliant period in motorcycle development, And the lowly CB500 can't really be ignored because it's a brilliant little motorbike. So in the world of Honda, the titles they give the bike actually mean something. CB, city bike. And that meant incredibly user friendly. This is really the simplest bike you could ever really ride. It's got enough power and enough torque to not need to rev it when you pull away. The clutch action is light, the throttle is light, the throttle connection to the engine is absolutely lovely. The standard seat height is relatively low, so everybody can fit on it. You can take a pillion in reasonable comfort. If you bought the fared version, you got nice wind protection. These things are just brilliant because a Fireblade was brilliant and the technology trickled down all the way into these. But the manufacturers didn't actually have to do that. They could have made it cheaper and simpler, but they knew to make it better, you made it like this. So why specifically do I think a CB500 should be in my list of the best of the 90s? Because after all, there were a lot of bikes made in the 90s. So why is this classed as one of the best? I did, a few weeks ago, the longest day challenge on this bike in aid of Cancer Research UK, which meant I did Land's End to John O'Groat, 987 miles, in a day with no motorways. And this bike had to do it. And it didn't just do that, it rode to Land's End and it rode back from John O'Groat. In 4 days I covered 2,000 miles. And other than the 30-year-old rubber that holds indicators on, letting go a little bit of my indicators all flapping around, it did it without missing a beat. It was ridden in the rain, up and down hills, on bumpy roads, on smooth roads, at times relatively quickly, and this thing never missed a beat. It never overheated, it didn't use a drop of oil, everything continued to work. It was absolutely faultless because it's a Honda from the 90s and it was just made properly. It is just a great piece of engineering. But there's one thing that Honda did with the CB500 that was actually very un-Honda, and especially very un-Honda for commuter bike. They actually made this thing fun. Yep, CB500. Check this out. Rev it. 6, 7, 8, 9. It just keeps revving. The engine is an absolute little gem. And it doesn't have to be. Honda could have made it stop revving at 8,000 and make a few horsepower less and not make an interesting noise, but they didn't. They made something that was actually fun. And mating that with a chassis that's stable, but actually turns nicely, and proper brakes, there is a reason that every weekend there is a club race grid somewhere in the UK full of CB500s. 30 years after this bike was launched, they're getting raced everywhere because they're not only reliable, they're actually really good fun. And that's the main reason that this is one of the best bikes of the 90s. When I first got the bike and started converting it into the touring spec you see here, I said that I would give the profit from the bike, anything over the £600 for the challenge limit, anything over that I would give to Cancer Research UK when the bike sells. But I've actually decided to go one further. Every penny that this bike makes when it sells, I will give to Cancer Research UK, because I believe the work they do is so important that actually a few hundred extra quid from me, it will make more of a difference to them than it will make to me. And so this is going up for sale. I will put a link in the description, and I hope that it fetches really good money because the money is going to a great cause. And I actually think this one specifically should make really good money because underneath the pink wrap and the extra screen and the wool seat cover, this is actually a really good example of a CB500. It's done just over 18,000 miles from new. It is a later generation bike, so it has Brembo calipers on it. There is almost no corrosion anywhere on the bike. 3,000 miles ago it had a full service, so it had all of its fluids changed, new tyres, new battery, new chain. This is just, I'm going to put it out there, probably the best example of a CB500 in the country. So whether you're sat at home thinking you need a commuter bike that is economical and actually surprisingly good fun to ride, or you want a low mileage, completely straight, uncrashed bike to turn into a CB500 racer, this is the one to have. And so please, click on the link in the description. There will be an extra one for giving money straight to Cancer Research UK, which is an amazing charity and you should give the money. And there is also going to be a link to the advert for this bike. And so please, check it out. And if you need a bike for racing, commuting, or just to admire, come and buy this one. So if you think I've gone mad that my pink CB500 is one of the best bikes from the 90s and you know better, please stick a comment down below. So thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this instalment. If you have, please leave us a comment, like, subscribe, do all those things that make the YouTube machine really happy. And I'll be back soon for some more motorbike fun.